a.m. this morning. I was at the airport at 8. I have had 3 plane cancellations and 14 delays. I came to you straight from the airport in my flip-flops. Thankfully, I'm not wearing my rubber flip-flops and shorts and tank top. But I have no luggage, no notes, so we're just going to wing it. Thank you. I'm so honored to see all of you here tonight. What a wonderful turnout, despite the weather. You know, people ask me all the time, Brigitte, don't you get depressed talking about such a heavy-duty subject, terrorism and radical Islam? And I say, of course I do. You know, I'm a human like all of you, but you know what keeps my spirit up and keeps me energized and keeps me going is when I travel this amazing, beautiful country of ours. And I meet people like you who take the time out of their busy schedule to come out here in the rain, no less, to hear me speak. That's when I am empowered, that's when I'm energized, that's when I know people in this country are truly awake and they truly do care about this country. So thank you for giving me the energy to continue pushing on. Thank you for giving me the strength, and thank you for honoring me. The national security issue is an American issue. It's not a Republican issue, it's not a Democratic issue, it's not a Libertarian issue, it's an American issue. America has been attacked under different administrations since 1979, regardless what type of administration we had, whether Democrat or Republican. America was attacked the first time under the Carter administration in 1979 with the hostages in Iran. He was a Democrat. America was attacked again under the Ronald Reagan administration, a Republican, with the blowing up of the Marines in Lebanon in 1983. America was attacked again under George Bush Sr. administration. America was attacked again under the Clinton administration. It was actually under the Clinton administration, a Democrat, when the World Trade Center was attacked the first time in 1993. It was also under President Clinton that the Taliban trained 10,000 Al-Qaeda members in Afghanistan. Now, these people were not being trained for entertainment. They were being trained to attack the United States of America. At that time, George Bush Jr. and Dick Cheney were not even a blur on the political American landscape. And again, America was attacked in 2001. And people thought, if we just get rid of George Bush, if we just get rid of the Republicans and elect President Obama, all our sins are going to be forgiven. The whole world is going to get together and sing Kumbaya. Well, obviously, that didn't happen. Actually, 2 days after President Obama became president, Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda issued a press release saying, we continue our jihad against the United States, regardless who lives in the White House. And since President Obama became president, we have arrested on American soil 226 homegrown terrorists. 186 of them are Muslims. Now, we have a problem in our country when a faith-based group that accounts for less than 2% of the American population is responsible for over 85% of terrorist attacks against the United States. That is a reality we have to acknowledge and we have to address. Not acknowledging this reality is committing intellectual suicide, which would lead to the suicide of our nation. Radical Islam is on the rise worldwide. As I'm speaking to you right now, there are 44 conflicts around the world between Muslims and non-Muslims, regardless what the nationality of these non-Muslims is, regardless what the color of their skin is, regardless what language they speak, what passport they hold. 44 conflicts around the world. While we in America focus on what's happening in Afghanistan and in Pakistan and Iraq because we are involved there, most Americans are not paying attention to what happened in Djibouti last week, to what happens around the world. Nobody's paying attention. But it is a problem. And for those of you who do not know my background, The reason why I'm so passionate about radical Islam and terrorism and national security is because it affected my life personally since I was a child, like you watched in the video. My 9/11 happened to me in 1975, when the Islamists blew up my home, bringing it down, burying me under the rubble wounded as they shouted Allahu Akbar. I ended up in a hospital for 2.5 months, going from one surgery to another. Laying in a hospital bed, hooked up to IVs in both arms, I would ask my father, why did they do this to us? And my father would tell me, because we are Christians, the Muslims consider us infidels and they want to kill us. So I learned since I was a 10-year-old little girl that I am wanted dead simply because I was born into the Christian faith and lived in a Christian town. Whether I practiced my religion or not, it was irrelevant in my enemy's eyes. We ended up leaving the hospital and coming back home. But my home was no longer the home I left. I ended up living underground in an 8 by 10 room bomb shelter, without electricity, without water, and very little food. To get some food, we would crawl out of the bomb shelter under the bombs and pick out different dandelions and different vegetation that grew around our bomb shelter because it was the only greenery we had to eat. To get some water, we would crawl to a nearby spring. I lived in a town called Marjayoun, Valley of Springs. We had 7 springs in my hometown. And we would crawl under snipers' bullets because Islamic snipers surrounded our area, shooting at us. And we would crawl in a ditch. And what used to take a 5-minute walk would take us hours for my mother and I crawling to get some water. Every time we left the bomb shelter, we would say our last goodbyes because we did not know if we were going to come back alive or dead. And when we would get to the spring, my mother had to use her stocking on top of the gallon of water to catch all the dirt and all the junk so we can drink the water. And this became my existence. And when we first went into the bomb shelter, we thought it's going to be just, a 2-week ordeal. And then, the great Christian nations of the world are going to see what's happening to the Christians in Lebanon with the massacres, and they're going to come save us. But nobody came. And what we thought was going to be a 2-3 week ordeal ended up being 7 years of our lives trapped underground trying to survive. I lived in that bomb shelter from the age of 10 till the age of 17, throughout of my youth. We heard of the massacres that were happening in Lebanon around us, that the Islamists were massacring the Christians and how they did it. And we knew they were coming our way. And we knew what our fate was going to be. And I remember one night, one of our Christian militia friends, because our Christian guys were protecting us, stopped by and he said, Brigitte, I just want you to know that we heard on the radios a lot of chatters, and we know that tonight the Islamists are launching a major attack against us. And he said, I don't think we're going to last. And if I don't see you tomorrow, I wish you a merciful death. And he gave me a hug. And he left. And I remember at the age of 13 years old, dressing in my Sunday best, my Easter dress, because I wanted to look pretty when I am dead, knowing that when they come to slaughter me, there would be no one to bury me. And I sobbed as I begged my mother, I don't want to die, I'm only 13 years old, please, I don't want to die. And there was nothing my mother could say to me. And we sat in the corner of our bomb shelter, and my daddy started reading from Psalms. I shall walk into the valley of death and fear no evil, for thou art with me. And my parents said to me, when they come to slaughter us tonight, we will create a distraction. You just run towards the Israeli border and never look back. We lived a long life, you are a young child. You see, if we run to Israel and beg for help, we knew the Jews are not going to slaughter us, because we had more shared values with them than we had with the Muslims. Thank God I did not have to make that difficult decision that night, because that's the night when Israel came in physically into Lebanon and established the security zone and set up artillery bases on the hills surrounding our town to protect us from the Islamists coming into our towns to slaughter us. And this is how we continued on living for another 5 years. until 1982, when Israel invaded Lebanon and went all the way to Beirut, working with the Christians, helping the Christians to take back their democracy and kick out the radical Islamic element that had taken control of the country at that time. Because by 1982, we had 11 Islamic terrorist organizations operating out of Lebanon, including the PLO. And that's how we came out of our bomb shelters and back to rebuilding our lives. I ended up moving to Israel in 1984 and becoming news anchor for World News in the Middle East, covering world events and reporting on world events. From 1984 to 1989, that's when we started seeing a true rise of radical Islamic terrorism around the world. And as I read the news night after night, I started realizing that there was a pattern developing. Because no matter where the terrorist activity took place, no matter on what continent the terrorist bomb or bombing took place, the name of the perpetrators were always the same. Ahmed, Muhammad, Hussein, Ali. The name of the victims were always Westerners, Christians and Jews. Terry Waite, Terry Anderson, Colonel Higgins, the Akili Lauro, the Pan Am flight, the TWA flight. And I started realizing that what I used to think was a regional problem between a majority Muslim Middle East trying to kill or expel the minority Christians and Jews had become a worldwide problem. But the world was not paying attention. The world was not connecting the dots. The world lacked imagination. And isn't this exactly what the 9/11 Commission report said to us? We lack imagination. It's not that we did not know that Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda want to attack the United States. After all, they have attacked us repeatedly. They attacked us the first time in 1993 with the first bombings of the World Trade Center. The only difference between the attacks of 1993 and 2001 is the buildings did not come down. They attacked us again with the Kubar Towers in 1995. They attacked our embassies in Kenya and Tanzania in 1997. They attacked the USS Cole, and then they were so confident that we were so apathetic and so asleep that they came back and re-attacked the World Trade Center the second time, this time bringing the World Trade Center down, killing almost 3,000 Americans and bringing America down to its knees. We lack imagination because we have never before met an enemy that doesn't have a hidden agenda, that tell us exactly how they feel, that tell us exactly what they want to do. They not only tell us how much they hate us and what they want to do to us, they issue press releases about it, they write on the internet about it, they even record a videotape and send it to Al Jazeera to air worldwide. That's how much they hate us. Osama bin Laden sent a letter to George Bush, remember that? Telling him what we need to do so Al-Qaeda can be friends with us. They know exactly, they play us like a violin and they're telling us exactly how much they hate us. The problem is, we are refusing to listen because we are reflecting our Judeo-Christian Western standards on evil people who do not share the same standards. Today, we can no longer hide behind that excuse. Today, we have to hold our elected officials responsible for their ignorance, for their apathy, for their political correctness, which I believe we need to throw political correctness in the garbage where it belongs.